This is Unscripted with Melanie Anderson.
Hey everybody, it's Melanie Anderson and it's Friday. You know what that means. Disney with Anderson. Oh, you know how much I love bringing you our Friday editions. And I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me recently at Disney World in the Hollywood Studios Tower of Terror. And a lesson that I learned. So it's almost a mixture of my Monday podcast with my Friday podcast. So it's a funny little story that I want to share with you. And the Tower of Terror is probably one of my very, very favorite rides. My husband and I actually went to Disney World for our honeymoon 22, 23 years ago. And only recently, over the last 3 years, have I become an annual pass holder. So I want you to know, and I've been so many times over the last 3 years, I've probably ridden Tower of Terror hundreds of times, and I'm not kidding you, because many times we will ride it 5 and 6 times in a row. If you time it right at the end of the night, you could just get on it over and over again. So to say, I'm kind of leading up so that you understand, I'm kind of an expert with the Tower of Terror. And if you know and you've ridden that ride, it basically goes up so many stories and it's a free fall down. And many times, you put your hands up in the air. And how fun is that? We like to sit in the front row. And I had a recent experience that I had gone on the ride, and this gentleman sat next to me, and he obviously maybe was a newbie, and he actually started holding his bag in his hand, and the bag, as he was lifting his hands up, was kind of in front of my face. And I kept looking at them. I'm like, no, put your bag down, put your hands down. You're in my space. I felt like he was very much in my personal space. You know what I mean by that. And so the ride's going up, and I can feel this guy in my personal area, and his hand's going up, and he's holding his bag. He's holding this gift bag. And I'm like, what are you doing? So the entire ride that I'm, going up and down on with this Tower of Terror, I'm not enjoying the ride. I'm seriously focused on this guy next to me who's annoying me like crazy and taking the joy out of the ride for me. And I got off of that ride and I was really frustrated. And I even said to the guy, I'm like, dude, your bag was in front of my face most of the time. I couldn't even see the ride, enjoy it. And I was really frustrated. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, whatever. And we go out, you kind of almost race to go look at the photo because you want to see what it looks like. And yep, guess what happens? His bag is in front of my face. So I don't get to get that photo. Can I just say, if I'm honest, I was pissed. And I'm telling you, I was so mad. I was fuming. And I looked at that guy. If you've ever seen my previous episode from our Monday shows called Stink Eye, let me tell you, I was giving this guy some stink eye. And, he just moved on with his day. Probably didn't even give it a second thought. So in the meantime, I go on to another ride. And I'm still stewing over this. Yes, I was. And I was really upset. And I got on that next ride, and I started having a revelation about, kind of what Disney is all about and my attitude and how I was reacting over a ride that I loved. And it sort of hit me that, you know what? I'm the one that's in control of my attitude and my behavior, and only I can affect how my day goes and react in whatever manner. It didn't matter to this guy. He moved on with his day and he had a great day. And so I got off of that ride, walked back to Tower of Terror, and I asked them if I could see the photo because you know what? I certainly didn't scan that photo. I didn't want anything to do with it. And then I had that revelation that, you know what? I want that photo. I want that as a reminder to me that it was my attitude that affected the ride and my attitude that carried on for about 20 minutes. And I just wanted to share that with you. And I actually I'll post this and make sure you guys see the photo. And I said to one of the attendants, one of the Disney cast members, about the experience, and I showed them. I said, I want that photo because it was a reminder of my attitude and, how I had walked away feeling just really frustrated. So, you know what? Would you believe he actually gave me, kind of a back tour, took me up the elevators, let me go do that ride again. And I'm going to tell you, just so you know, you will never see me raise my hands all the way up and affect the people behind me and ruin their experience and their photo and their ride. This was seriously a lesson I needed to learn because like I said, I had ridden that ride probably hundreds of times. How many times did I maybe block somebody's view? How many times was I so self-involved in what I was doing, didn't even think about how that affected somebody else's experience? I'm telling you, this was a huge lesson for me. And so something to think about, and not only our attitude, but, just in our behavior for those around us. So next time you ride Tower of Terror, just hands up only halfway because we don't want to affect the ride behind us, the riders behind us. So anyways, I would love to know if you guys have any stories like that, throughout your experiences, wherever you may be. But this was one that really stuck with me. I hope it resonates with you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.